Hi guys, it's Mal again from mmtoolparts.com, and today I'm going to show you guys how to replace the housing on an impact driver. Today we're going to use this Makita BTD141, and I am just going to show you how to replace these two pieces. So if you, essentially, anytime you use your drill, it's going to suffer a little bit of wear and tear, and all that's good. That just means you're using it. But occasionally this thing is going to suffer an accident, like maybe a fall off your workbench or a ladder or something like that that's going to put a crack or a break in the housing that's just a little bit too severe to work around. So in an event like that, you're going to want to replace the thing, and luckily it's relatively easy to do. First things first, always you want to remove the battery so that you don't encounter any surprises while you're working on the tool. So to start, you want to first remove this piece. This is the bumper, this is the hammer case cover, and these are the pieces we're going to pull off first. So essentially this bumper, you're just going to want to get a little fingernail underneath there and peel it off. Super easy. This one, however, does have these two notches that you can see are fitting into the hammer case inside that you're going to need to pry out. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver here. If you have one that's a little bit smaller than this, it might work a little bit easier, but for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to just kind of use the tools that you're likely to have on hand. So you need to just simply get under there and then push that forward so it's outside of the groove, and then move on to your other side. I think I heard that click, so it may have gone right back in. And that's the tough part, guys, is you have to be brave and gentle simultaneously to make sure that you're getting this off properly. And there we go. So the next step is removing the housing. To remove the housing, you want to start here at your rear cover. Remove the rear cover, and then you're going to remove the top housing. Okay, so since it's taken me a while to get all of these screws out manually, I figure I should tell you guys a joke to keep you entertained. So this is not my favorite joke, but it happens to be the joke that occurs to me in this moment, which might mean it's the most appropriate. Okay, everybody. I want everyone to think long and hard about this one and tell me, why was Helen Keller a bad driver? I'm pausing so you guys can think about it. The answer is because she was a woman. Feel free to laugh or leave comments if you're really offended. There we go. Okay, so now that the hard part is over, we're going to begin the harder part. So this is what it looks like once you open up your drill. And essentially we're going to need to pull out all of these pieces and then reinstall them into a fresh housing. So before you start pulling things out, it's important that you take kind of a close look to make sure that when you are prepared to put everything back in, you can do it properly and put everything back where it goes. So just take kind of a look at what's in front of you before you pull everything out. Now, as you can see, when you're doing this yourself, these wires have a place to tuck in. So when you put the switch back in, you're going to want to follow that same path. Sometimes you do have to use a little bit of muscle to pull those out, but I'm sure you guys are going to be okay with that. So once all of your components come out, you're going to want to just grab a fresh housing and put everything back in the same way you pulled it out. So the first thing that you're going to want to put in here is your LED light. So your LED light is the thing that's connected to all these wires here. And of course I pulled that off, which is okay because it just snaps right back into place. So then you're just going to want to snug that right back into its little housing there. There's a place designed exactly for that little piece to go. And then as you remember, these wires have these little grooves that they're designed to fit straight into. So you're going to want to make sure that you just trap those wires into the designed groove there so that everything is going to stay exactly where you put it. The wire then wraps around the housing for the forward reverse lever. Again, you're going to want to just make sure that you're tucking each one of those pieces. Then as you pull these back, you can see that there's another set of grooves here designed to hold the wires individually. So once you get them down into this section here, there's going to be these little notches that work just kind of like a pathway for your wiring. So I'm going to use my finger to kind of get everything into its proper place, and then I'm going to grab another tool just to make sure that I have everything tucked down in there comfortably. So these pieces right here are going to fit right into a groove right here. So tuck that in there, move this piece over to where it's going to fit comfortably. Again, making sure that your wires are always tucked snugly in so that when you replace that housing, nothing gets pinched. So before we tuck that switch too tightly in there, take your forward reverse lever, making sure that the notch right here is facing forward because that's what's going to hook into the switch. So you're going to push that through. Then this thing, that notch there, is going to connect with that little knob on the switch. Okay. Okay, and we're set there. The next step is putting back your brush housing and the motor assembly. So essentially you're going to want to do these pieces kind of simultaneously because it's the brushes that talk to the motor that allow the tool to work. So here are your brushes back here. And as you're going to need to feed the shaft of the armature through this way to ensure that the carbon on these brushes can make contact with these pieces here. So the best way to do this is just to kind of move those pieces out. They are connected to a spring, so you'll be able to just kind of push the carbon piece back up into the brush holder. And then I'm going to feed the armature through there to ensure that those brushes are going to then be pushing up against the commutator bars on the armature shaft. So then everything is set in place and everything looks right, but the trickiest part here is ensuring that this notch on the yoke unit is perfectly mated with, I should show you this, there's a piece right there that's going to fit into that groove on the yoke unit. So you need to make sure that those are mated before you start trying to operate the tool again. So of course, I'm going to need to get back in here with my brushes, feed the armature, and then I'm going to set the yoke unit. So in this case here, you can see that that notch on the yoke unit, this colored mark here is exactly opposite that. So this may already be on your own yoke unit. If it's not, feel free to just grab a Sharpie and put a mark there. This will help you align those when you can't see them. So when those pieces are out of sight, this will show you exactly where you need to put it. You will feel those pieces once they lock in. You'll feel it click into place. And then the telltale sign that you've got it in the right place is the yoke unit will no longer spin. So as you can see, this isn't moving. The trouble, however, is that my brush housing is not parallel. So now I've got that in the right place, just kind of wiggled that into parallel so it's in its correct notches. My yoke unit isn't moving, so we know that that's in the right place. Everything's mated there. This is on. You want to make sure we have another notch here, again with all of these notches that are just helping us put the tool back exactly where it goes. That is going to just roll back into your housing, and that's going to hold everything in the motor where it's supposed to be. So then finally, before we put the housing back on, we just want to make sure that, let's see, I'm going to roll that back out of the way so I can check this. I just want to ensure that my switch and my forward reverse lever are still in the right spot. This thing can often toggle itself out of the right position. And I just want to ensure that I have it in the right space. And it looks like everything is coming together properly, so I'm going to roll that notch right back down. And then we're going to reinstall the top half of your housing. Okay. So it's always good to double check that your forward reverse lever is in fact working once you get that housing back on. So I'm just going to put that right back into neutral, and then we're going to reinstall each one of our screws. So again, if you are lucky enough to have a spare power drill to fix your other power drill, it does make this part of the process go a lot faster. Okay, and before I completely tighten each one of these screws, there is one final thing that we need to check before we can be certain that this tool is ready to be used again. And that, we need to make sure that the armature has a little bit of wiggle room in there. If this thing can't move back and forth freely, then that means that when you try to turn the tool on and this thing starts to try to spin, there's not going to be enough movement for it to do so, and it is going to burn up the motor. So just be sure before you button everything back up and before you try to use this tool again that that armature has a little bit of space to move around freely. So since we have that, we're going to go ahead and finish up. We'll reinstall the rear cover. This piece, while it may have been a little trickier to remove when we first started, it is just going to slide and snap right into place. So easy, schmeezy. This piece now, our bumper. If you can see here, there's all of these little notches on the inside, and these ones that are a little bit longer are going to match exactly with the points that we had to pry off of the hammer case cover in the beginning. So those ones are going to pair right exactly with those pieces. And then, while it doesn't snap directly into place, each one of these little notches is essentially just going to smush into place. So making sure that everything is in its right space there. You'll just pull at the top of the bumper, tuck them into those pieces, and as you can see, everything's coming together smooth as silk. Then we'll simply reattach our battery. Make sure we've done everything properly. Put this sucker into gear, and we've done it. Okay guys, now that we've got our hands all dirty, we have successfully replaced the housing on our power drill. If you have any questions about what you saw, please feel free to send us an email or leave some comments below. If you have any suggestions about what we can do, another tool you'd like to see replaced, another conundrum that you'd like to see us solve, please let us know and we'll do our best to take care of it for you. You guys can find all of the parts for this replacement and any other repairs that you guys need to do on our website, mmtoolparts.com. So visit us there, and we have a whole slew of information to help you take care of all of your repairs a little bit easier. So if you need help with maintenance, if you need help with repairs, if you need anything at all, Tool Parts is the place to find it. So we'll be there, give us a call, and we'll help you figure it out. Thanks guys.